Bon, fête du Canada tout le monde. C'est mon plaisir aujourd'hui d'annoncer nos plans ici au Calgary pour célébrer la fête du Canada. So today it is my pleasure, while holding a beach ball, to tell you a little bit about the city's plans this year to celebrate Canada. Obviously, this is a strange year. While many provincial health restrictions will be lifted on July 1st, we're not yet having a traditional Canada Day. But nonetheless, there will be opportunities to celebrate. And I want to tell you about the three main aspects of the Canada Day program this year. But before I do that, I really do want to point out that there's a lot of mixed emotions this year. A lot of folks don't feel like there's a lot to celebrate. Some folks feel that we should use Canada this day to educate and reflect on reconciliation and true prosperity for Indigenous peoples. And some folks just want to get out of the house. And ultimately, we will be able to do all of those things this year as we celebrate Canada Day here in Calgary. So the first thing I want to tell you about is if you want your very own Canada Day beach ball, there are 10,000 free Canada Day fun at home kits. These kits are reusable bags filled with freebies to help celebrate Canada Day, bubbles, sidewalk chalk, a beach ball, and much more. And we really encourage people to grab those. You can get your free kit at the Calgary Public Library, any branch, starting tomorrow on June 24th, while supplies last. You can also get an online kit, no beach ball, at calgary.ca/Canada Day with activities for the kids and fun ideas for things you can do in your neighborhood and at home. But we're not leaving you totally on your own. For the entire day of Canada Day, I encourage you to tune into CJSW. And CJSW is presenting Canada in stereo. And that is 17 hours of radio programming from 7 a.m. to midnight on 90.9 FM. We're thrilled that CJSW is willing to do this. Local and Canadian artists will be featured, showcasing musical talents for Canada Day. And the music lineup includes Kids Radio Fun, presented by the Juke School and artist DJ Sisek. I love that name. Misha and the Spanks, Dragonfly Empire, Amy Nelson, Yolanda Sargent, Kaylee Cardinal, amazing artists, local artists, Indigenous artists, Canadian artists, talking about Canada, the Indigenous music, hip hop, blues, children's artists, punk, and even more. And folks, yes, for the last time as mayor, I will get to press the special mayor button, which will launch the fireworks. The fireworks will be at 11 p.m. and they'll be simulcast to music on CJSW. This year, fireworks will be launched high in the sky from Tom Campbell Hill on the north bank of the Bow River. So that means that it'll be possible to see the fireworks from just about everywhere in Calgary. And we encourage people to watch from your backyard, but also to get together small and safely to be able to watch in some of your traditional viewing points. But remember, the fireworks are in a new place this year. So you don't want to be disappointed. And you want to make sure that the place you choose has a good view of the Bow River, the north bank of the Bow River, and Tom Campbell Hill, which is just above the zoo. And so I'm hoping that you can do that. So if you can see that, if you can see downtown, you should be able to see the fireworks no problem. And if you can't, you can watch or stream the fireworks live on calgary.ca/Canada Day, but it is way more fun to see them in person. Donc je voudrais remercier tous nos partenaires, CJSW, tous mes collègues à la ville de Calgary, mais aussi je veux remercier le gouvernement du Canada pour son assistance particulièrement avec les feux d'artifice cette année. So thank you to all our community partners, especially CJSW. Thank you to my colleagues at the City of Calgary who exemplify the word of 2020 and 2021, pivot, in figuring out ways to help us all enjoy Canada Day safely. Thank you to the Government of Canada for their financial assistance, particularly with the fireworks. Bon fête de Canada tout le monde. Happy Canada Day, everyone. All right, I'll take questions on Canada Day and then if there's any news of the day. 11 p.m. I might have cried.
We are in a completely different world a year later with the pandemic. I guess specifically for pandemic safety, because I know stage 3 is going to be in effect as of July 1st, but what is the state recommending people do in terms of taking
Yeah, so it's the first day that the restrictions will be lifted, and we know a lot of people have very different feelings about this. Some are very excited, some are very nervous, and I'm just going to remind everybody it's the first day. And so if you're not double vaccinated plus 2 weeks, you should take some precautions. If you are double vaccinated plus 2 weeks, which I just will be, you should still take some precautions. So there won't be mass gatherings downtown. There's not a huge stage on the riverfront as there have been in years past. My pushing of the button will be on the radio, not in front of thousands of people. But we do want to encourage people to take a moment of reflection, a moment of education, a moment of inspiration, a moment of commitment to action, and a moment of celebration. You know, I think those fireworks will symbolize for me, as they will for many, the beginning of the next page, the beginning of the future. And so enjoy them. So if you can see downtown Calgary, you can see the fireworks. Although it says that in my notes, I will say the fireworks are on the north side of downtown Calgary, so you want to be able to see across downtown, not just a view of, Bankers Hall in front of you. So if you can see that, you can watch. So if you want to gather, if you want to drive up to a usual favorite watching point, that's okay. If you want to be with a group of people, that's okay. I remind you that if social distancing is not possible, you probably want to keep your mask in place. So let's not go all out, but let's use this as a moment of celebration.
Will you be up to anything else during the days, or I don't know, virtual citizenship ceremony or anything like that?
The saddest thing for me is that I've not been able to preside at a citizenship ceremony in 15 months. And I really wish there was one. So hey, Refugees and Immigration Canada, I always get the name of the department wrong. Immigration and Refugees Canada, if you're having a virtual citizenship ceremony, I'd be very happy to participate. There's a couple of small community events that I hope to get to in person as well. But by and large, this will not be a normal Canada Day for me. It will not be 30 events from 7 a.m. to midnight. And I'm sad about that, but at the same time, I think it'll be a good time to celebrate.
It was going to be a different year this year, obviously, with the Discovery in Canada. So there's been, other municipalities have scaled theirs back. There's been some calls from Indigenous peoples to maybe take the stage a bit more to reflect. I guess, how will that all be incorporated into this year?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think that we can hold multiple thoughts in our head at the same time. So, for me, I'm deeply committed to anti-racism. I'm deeply committed to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. I also love Canada. And I think that's okay to hold all of those thoughts in your head at the same time. When I think about my own family's story, as a religious and ethnic minority as we would be anywhere in the world, we would never be in the majority wherever we were. I can't imagine another place where we could have accomplished what we've accomplished here in Canada. I grew up with refugees from places like Uganda and Vietnam, and I think there's a lot to celebrate about the stories of success in this country. But there's a lot of work to be done. And so there's nothing wrong with using Canada Day as a celebration, but also as a moment of reflection, a moment of education. Canada Day would be a great day to sign up for the Indigenous Canada course that everyone's taking, offered by the University of Alberta. But I think most important, let's use Canada Day this year as a commitment, as an opportunity for us to commit to the promise of Canada, to a better post-pandemic future, to true reconciliation, to move towards anti-racism. And as those fireworks go off, let's use that as a symbol of what we are capable of. So, I very much respect the folks who want to cancel Canada Day, but that's not where I'm at. I'm at using this as an opportunity to build an even better country and celebrate what we have.
Past years, or not last year, but in past years, there'll be a big crowd at, for instance, Island, what's Calgary, places like that. Do you have any guidance for people about that? Like, if it's a beautiful day, like, should you just stay close to home, stick to smaller crowds?
We can be a little bit easier in our activities. So if you want to take that day to walk with the family downtown, that's fine. Just remember there's no actual events to go to, but there's lots of local businesses. You can pop in, get an ice cream, stop for lunch. That's totally fine. Just be a bit prudent is all. And I should mention one thing. Sorry, Scott, you just reminded me, which I should have mentioned in my answer to Adam's question. My favorite thing about Canada Day in years past is that I get to be part of the grand entry at what I believe is the largest powwow in Western Canada. The City of Calgary helps organize it on Princess Island. It's a focal point of our celebrations. And one of the best parts about it is the fact that of any powwow I've ever been to, there's a very large number of non-Indigenous people there. And this is their moment for education and for connecting with Indigenous communities. And so that's pretty exciting for me. And by the way, for the last several years, that powwow has just been down the path from a place where the Calgary Sikh community shows people how to tie turbans. And I know it's kind of trite, but I gotta tell you, that image of people of every ethnicity wearing red and white turbans, sitting at a powwow, just makes me happy every year. And it really does talk to me about the promise of Canada. So we'll get back to that soon. This year, feel free to explore your city. You can stay in your local neighborhood. You can take advantage of our pilot project allowing alcohol in parks, or you can explore the city and see some of your neighbors for the first time in 50 years. Just be prudent. You know, keep your distance, wear a mask if distancing is not possible. Reminder that the mask bylaw is still in place for indoor gatherings. But if it's a nice day and you want to be out, there's nothing wrong with that. All right, anyone else on this one? Okay, any other topics of the day?
Wondered about when these city water fountains will be turned back on. Shelters have been asking Calgarians to donate water, and you know, it's starting to get real hot out, and it will be pretty hot next week as well.
Oh, thank you. You know, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm really happy you raised it because it is going to be real hot. And so we want to make sure people are comfortable. So I will follow up and do what I can to make sure city water fountains, as well as the splash parks that are not yet open, if it's possible to open them, are there. And I will also say that we'll have a little more to say as the weather gets warmer, and I encourage people to visit calgary.ca about making sure that people are safe in the heat. You know, remember that public facilities like libraries are open, shopping malls are open, so if you need to go to a place to cool down, you can certainly do that. We will make sure that we're looking after vulnerable populations during this heat wave as well. Anyone else?
I'm sorry to return to the mask issue.
I'm unaware of this issue.
I'm just wondering if the city has been pointed out masks continuing to be mandatory on transit in terms of enforcement. Are there any issues that the city sees popping up with making sure people still know that that is in place, or that bylaw officers have to deal with?
I'm not aware of any conversations that have happened with the province. I was very surprised to hear that announcement yesterday. I thought it was a bit ironic because the day before, my members of council were going on and on and on, some members of council were going on and on and on and on about us staying in our own lane and in our areas of expertise. And we got this announcement from the province, which last time I checked doesn't know anything about transit or run any transit authorities or regulate the taxi industry, about mask use on transit and in taxis. It's actually a good announcement, but it was a bit odd that they did that without having any conversations with the city. In fact, they did it at the moment that the Edmonton City Council was debating their mask bylaw. It's a bit disrespectful, frankly. But at the same time, it was a pretty good announcement. But we haven't had a chance, as far as I know, to actually talk to them about it, how long they want to have it in place for, what parameters they're using. But I will remind all citizens that the mask bylaw is still in place. So on transit vehicles and everywhere indoors in Calgary, you must still wear a mask. That bylaw might be lifted in early July, it might be lifted in late July, depending on how numbers are looking. But for now, nothing has changed, and you need to continue to follow the bylaw.
I think Premier Kenny today referenced some conversations he's had with you about masks.
What did he say?
I can't recall the exact.
You said that you didn't want to end up in the New York Times.
Didn't want to end up in the New York Times being labeled as in our city with all the cases and stuff like that.
I did say that because that was some time ago. Because my argument was around the Calgary Stampede. And, you know, the Stampede will be the subject of international media this year. It's the first major festival in Canada since the pandemic. And so what I did say to him is, look, we don't want to come off as a place that doesn't honor and understand what's happened with COVID. So for me, it's important that The media coverage shows that we are grateful for our frontline and essential workers, that we honor the people we've lost, 700 people here in Calgary, but that we're optimistic about the future. And ultimately, you don't want, for the long-term tourism and economic development of Calgary, you don't want people to think that we think COVID was a hoax, we're throwing it all off. Then people won't want to visit here in the future. They won't want to invest here in the future. And so ultimately, I think that's what we have to be careful of. And I will note that Dr. Hinshaw yesterday very clearly said that the masking bylaws are for local governments to decide based on local issues. And that's always been my point of view, despite some of what we heard from members of council who haven't actually been involved in any of these conversations.
Are you concerned about the mixed messaging with the province July 1st, everything July 1st, and then the city looking at it July 5th?
Or later.
What would you advise people to do, business owners, in handling customers who are going by the provincial rule?
Listen, I don't have that kind of contempt for citizens. I don't think people are so dumb that they won't know that there's a difference in different cities. Certainly it was like that all last summer, and we were absolutely fine. So I've got a lot of faith in citizens that they will understand and do what's right. And in fact, I find it insulting when people say people will be confused. People aren't dumb. They know what the rules are. And in any case, you know, the cases are different in Calgary. We have more than half of the Delta variant in the city. It's doubling every 10 days. And we have inconsistent rates of second dose vaccination across the city. And remember, any neighborhood in the city, any particular health zone in the city would itself be the third or fourth largest city in Canada, and in Alberta, really. So we got to be smart, and we got to be careful, and we got to look at local issues. And Dr. Hinshaw has to make decisions based on what's right for the whole province. But she has told us we have to make decisions for what's right for the city. And I'm happy to continue to do that. And look, I think most Albertans, if you ask them, especially most Calgarians, if you ask them, would point out that the province really hasn't gotten the timing or the nature of the decisions right very often during this pandemic. They tend to put up restrictions too late, they tend to take them down too early. Our third wave was in fact the highest infection rates in the world. And so I think that a lot of Calgarians would see that a little bit of prudence makes sense here, because nobody wants to go back to the lockdowns.
So are you worried about that? I mean, there was already enough confusion when everybody was trying to get their first vaccination, and it took a long time. Now with the media and many pushing, well, about 70%, there could be that, well, okay, well, we're done. And is that just adding to the confusion?
Yeah, I am actually worried about that. I am a little bit worried, although most data show us that the vast majority, if not unanimous, people who got their first dose want their second dose. Now, right at the moment, it's very difficult to get an appointment. And so even when people said our rate of second doses are going to continue like this, well, right now, last I heard, people were booking appointments well into July. So you got to get that second dose plus 2 weeks. I have second dose plus 12 days today. So I'm very excited about that. But, so you've got to get that right. And one of the things I am concerned about is that if there's no more visible understanding that the pandemic is still with us, that people might stall or procrastinate on getting that second dose. And that is just a breeding ground for that Delta variant to take off, because remember, one dose is not effective against the Delta variant. We need people to get both. And so ultimately, I still hope that we'll be there. I hope that when council reconsiders this on July 5th, we'll be at 50% second doses. I'm just not sure.